Hello, and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And I have a familiar face back again with me. It is Andrew, the Vikings fan. You saw him. He was a guest on our What's Wrong with the Minnesota Vikings video. But that's not the only team that are rivals that Andrew and I are fans of. You see our hats. I'm a Red Sox fan. He is a Yankees fan. So we decided to parlay that into our new series, a weekly baseball series, Out of State Rivals. We're not from Massachusetts or New York. I'm from Indiana. He's from Minnesota, but our teams are rivals nonetheless. So it'll be the start of an absolutely amazing journey, throughout this baseball season, whenever baseball gets back. But you might be asking yourself, Drew, what are you going to cover because baseball is in a lockout right now? Well, before the lockout, a lot of free agents have signed, and a lot of people have kind of forgotten that things have happened in the baseball world before the lockout. So we're just going to give you a quick refresher on some of the major free agent signings. So Andrew, are you ready to go, good sir?
Yes, sir. Let's run it.
He knows. So we're going to go through 8 guys, 5 pitchers, and 3 hitters, and just kind of like the major signings. There are a lot of really good players still left out there on the market, but that's an episode for a later day. But before we get into those players, let's do a quick rundown of what our teams have done so far. And the quick answer is not much.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, Andrew, your Yankees signed Joely Rodriguez and Ender Inciarte. 1 year, $2 million deal for Rodriguez and a minor league contract for Inciarte. Absolutely nothing. And my Red Sox have acquired 3 pitchers to relatively cheap deals. James Paxton for $10 million. Yeah, Michael Wacha for $7 million. And the ageless wonder Rich Hill for $5 million. So we have upped our rotation, the back end. But Andrew, I know you have some brief thoughts about the Yankees' lack of activity before the lockout.
Let's just say disappointing. So you got Brian Cashman, our 20-plus year GM. He always makes a case right before free agency starts, right before you can go sign whoever you want. He always camps outside of Yankee Stadium. Like, all right, let's get right to work. And then what happens when work starts? Crickets. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy we re-signed Joely Rodriguez. He was a good reliever for us
All
in the
right. You got
2021
somebody to
season.
pitch in the 6th inning.
Yeah, great. But
Woo-hoo!
just looking at some of the big names that are gone, we just did nothing. And now this lockout's happened and just been sitting in 3.5 months wondering what exactly are we doing? Or where do we even go from here?
Well, baseball has to come back first in order for that question to be answered. But let's go over some of the guys that were signed, starting with the pitchers. And there's no better guy to start with than Mad Max Scherzer, who signed with the New York Mets, 3 years, $130 million. Wow, did this guy get paid? He's 37 years old. He's one of the best pitchers of our generation, 3-time Cy Young winner, 8-time All-Star with the Diamondbacks, Tigers, Nationals, and Dodgers. And he won a World Series in 2019 with the Nationals, so he has a ring. And in his age 36 season last year, he did not slow down. In Washington, he had a pretty good season. He was one of the premier pitchers with the Nationals. And then at the deadline, he and Trey Turner got dealt to the Dodgers for a package. And that's where Max Scherzer made his money because he was lights out. In 11 games, 7-0, 68 in the third innings pitched, 1.98 ERA, 89 strikeouts, and 8 walks. Mad Max was on fire.
Yeah, you really can't get any better than that. That's about as close to perfection as you could ask for. And it's too bad he didn't end up winning another ring with the Dodgers, but he's definitely got a few years left in the tank. The problem is, I'm not exactly sure the Mets was the right move for him. I wonder if he's going to fall into the same trap that we see Jacob deGrom in currently. He's, I think, undeniably the best pitcher in the league, but he doesn't go to the playoffs. Mets never lead him to the playoffs. And I just have a feeling that Scherzer would like to at least end his career on a high note, maybe chase another ring, but I mean, I guess the Mets are paying him pretty good money, and I have no doubt he'll
Oh,
continue
pretty good
dominating the
money.
league.
Pretty good
Oh
money.
yeah, it's good money, but like
$43.3 million a year is the most in MLB history for annual value. That smashed Garrett Cole, that smashed Trevor Bauer's contract record. Max Scherzer got himself paid with the Mets. And you mentioned DeGrom. Now DeGrom and Scherzer get to pitch on the same team. So hopefully having those two at the top of the rotation will definitely steer the Mets in the right direction to make a playoff run. And on top of Scherzer, they spent a lot more. They went and got Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar, Starling Marte. So the Mets are definitely gearing up for a playoff push. But the next guy we're going to get into is the 2021 AL Cy Young winner, Robbie Ray, who in his age 30 season had the Cy Young season that he finally thought he could have. He spent so many years with the Diamondbacks where was he a starter? Was he a reliever? Was he a closer? Like what was he where he just didn't figure it out? And then he went to Toronto, snap your fingers, you figure it out, you go under the radar for most of the 2021 season and you put together a complete season and you take the Cy Young from Garrett Cole. Hats off to Robbie Ray. He absolutely deserved it. And now in a contract year, 5 years, $115 million from the Seattle Mariners. And now the Mariners get their front line of the rotation guy, their ace for the next 5 years as Robbie Ray enters into his prime.
great signing. Love it for the Mariners. Just seeing what the Mariners did last year, they were so close to finally making it to the playoffs. And now they got an ace that could lead them even further and drive them further to maybe even potentially winning the AL West. I have no doubt he'll continue to pitch as amazing as he did. And I'm also kind of happy he's not in the AL East anymore, too. Won't have to see him as much. But yeah, he's going to be super dangerous for their AL West foes. Wow, I can't talk. But yeah, that's a great signing for the Mariners, and I think he'll be a great pitcher for them.
I believe he absolutely will too. You know, the Mariners are lucky to have the reigning Cy Young winner. And you mentioned that they won't have to see Robbie Ray in the AL East. But the Blue Jays sort of traded Robbie Ray. And as soon as he signed with Seattle, they snagged Kevin Gausman for 5 years, $110 million. And if you're going to replace Robbie Ray on the open market, Kevin Gausman was about as good as you can get. An absolutely breakout year with the Giants last year. In 33 games, 14-6, 192 innings pitched to the tune of a 2.81 ERA, 227 strikeouts and 50 walks. He was an all-star. He was another guy like Robbie Ray where you didn't exactly know what you have, where he bounced around the league, you know, from the Orioles to the Braves. He spent a half a season with the Reds, which was really weird. And then the Giants, he spent 2020 with the Giants. And then the Giants took a flyer on his qualifying option and it worked out. And Kevin Gausman spearheaded that playoff run for the San Francisco Giants, which nobody saw coming. And now the Blue Jays, who are a meteoric up-and-coming team in the AL East, which we have to worry about now, they replace Ray with Gausman. So don't get too excited about not having to see that frontline arm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his stats are almost identical to Robbie Ray. And I just wonder if it's less talked about because he had guys like Scherzer and DeGrom in the National League. So
the National League's pitchers last year were so much better than the American League's,
yeah.
which the American League Cy Young race kind of came down to Ray and Cole. But in the NL Cy Young, you had Scherzer, you had DeGrom, you had Corbin Burns, who won the NL Cy Young. And then you had people saying that guys like Walker Buehler, Julio Urias got snubbed, and you don't even get around to mentioning Kevin Gausman, who I think was as good as all of them, right? You can even add Brandon Woodruff into the conversation. So the arms in the National League were so good that Kevin Gausman kind of got lost in the limelight. But it's a pretty good diamond in the rough for the Toronto Blue Jays to find. And now you pair him with Hyunjin Ryu and Jose Barrios at the top of that rotation. Barrios was a deadline acquisition from the Minnesota Twins, who were absolutely terrible. But now, I mean, Toronto has a solid three-headed monster at the head of that rotation, and they're set up.
Yeah, absolutely. They are to be feared. They have a
So
really good core. They have a really good young lineup that's continuing to develop. Yeah.
the
I'd be
future
watching out for the Toronto Blue Jays in
the future
2022.
is bright for the Blue Jays. Now, after that, we'll turn it over to a reliever that got paid, a closing pitcher. Raisel Iglesias re-upped with the Anaheim Angels on a 4-year, $58 million deal. Raisel Iglesias spent the first couple of years of his career in Cincinnati, where he kind of, rotated. Was he a closer? Was he a setup man in their bullpen? You couldn't really find a role for him. He signs with Anaheim last year, and he's absolutely lights out. He was one of the best closers in the league with 34 saves, and he didn't really walk anybody. 103 strikeouts to 12 walks in 70 innings pitched. Watching Raisel Iglesias, he was absolutely filthy from the three-quarter slot, fastball, changeup, slider. I watched a ton of Raisel Iglesias last year because I had him on my fantasy baseball team, and he was absolutely money. So the Angels, I think, was a wise decision to re-sign him. For the money that they got, they're paying him $14.5 million a year, which is the fourth biggest contract for relievers. But that puts him behind guys like Aroldis Chapman and Liam Hendricks, who are definitely in the upper echelon of closers. So I think that's where Raisel Iglesias belongs.
There's really just one problem I have with the sign. Deserves money, great season, but he's on the Angels, and the Angels aren't very good at baseball. So you almost have to ask,
They're
how much will he be
trying.
used?
They're trying. They got Noah Syndergaard too.
Yeah, but it's the Angels. If it was like a 2-year deal, I'd be
That's
like, oh,
true.
that's great. You could, trade him at the trade deadline. But no, you might have to stick around and just be inactive because he doesn't get many opportunities to close.
Well, I mean, he had
Unless if
34
they
saves last
drastically,
year.
unless if they drastically improve this year and he's needed more often than not. I could be proven wrong.
Well,
Time
I
will
think just
tell.
in the case of the Angels, it's nice to have that closer role anchored for the foreseeable future. And I think that's what they
Sure.
wanted and got with Raisel Iglesias. The
Yeah,
last
I
pitcher.
just really I was gonna say I really think though that they could have tried to take advantage of his good season and give him a shorter contract to trade him in July, but I guess I could be wrong. Time will tell.
Yeah, who knows? So the last pitcher that we're going to go through is the ageless wonder, Justin Verlander. His age 39 season, he signed with the Houston Astros, re-signed 1-year, $25 million deal. And I feel like this free agent signing is definitely notable because Justin Verlander being one of the best pitchers of this generation, and he has ambitions to pitch into his 40s, but he's entering into the twilight of his career. And he's coming off Tommy John, where he only made one start in the last 2 seasons. It's definitely a risk for both the Houston Astros and Justin Verlander, but with the production that Justin Verlander has given the Astros with his tenure in 2017, 18, and 19, I think it's definitely a risk that the Astros can take.
Yeah, for sure. He's been absolutely lights out since he's signed with the Astros or traded to the Astros back in 2017. This signing is a bit of a head scratcher to me, though. Don't get me wrong. Justin Verlander, amazing pitcher. I just really wonder if he's still got it. Just the fact that he hasn't pitched the last 2 years.
I
Like,
wanted to prove you wrong so bad
look, any
because I love
probably will.
JV.
He's good. He's giving the Yankees fans like me heartbreak, but he's good. I just really wonder if he's still got it at his age and not pitching a single pitch for the last 2 years. So one thing I'm concerned about, but it's smart on the Astros just to make it a 1-year deal then in case if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it's low risk, high reward. He's 39 years old. If it doesn't work, then Justin Verlander can go quietly into the night, having a great career and having a spot in Cooperstown. And if it does work out, congratulations, you have your ace back with McCullers, Urquidy, Framber Valdez, and the Astros are as nasty as ever. So I think that's a pretty solid move on the Astros part. Low risk, high reward. But now we're going to go into some hitters that got signed and got paid. And the first of which is Corey Seager. The Texas Rangers gave him a truckload of money, 10 years, $325 million. And I like it because the Texas Rangers need superstar value. They need a big name that can just be the future of the Rangers, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. They need that billboard name, and Corey Seager definitely provides it because, he has experience playing shortstop in a big market in Los Angeles in front of the lights. He's proven he's a 2-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year, a World Series champion, and he's an NLCS and World Series MVP. So for Corey Seager, he got a bag, and the Rangers got their shortstop of the future.
Just got to ask one thing before I comment. Why didn't the Yankees do this? This would have been a perfect signing for them. We need more contact hitters.
Yeah, we'll get into what's wrong.
Anyways, yeah, we'll get to that.
We can do that in a future episode if you'd like. What's wrong with the Yankees?
That's possible. We'll see how the season goes. But anyways, it's a great signing for the Rangers. Corey Seager absolutely deserves the bag. He's done pretty much about all you could ask to earn it. And yeah, really good for the Rangers as well. They've been lacking that superstar player that they need, and Corey Seager will bring them that superstar. Hopefully drawing a lot of Rangers fans this year. Be expecting to see a lot of Seager jerseys in the crowd for sure.
Yeah, you'll definitely expect a lot of Seager jerseys to sell, but the Rangers will also be selling a lot of Semien jerseys because they turned around and signed Marcus Semien to a 7-year, $175 million deal. Marcus Semien took a little bit different path to get to this point than Corey Seager, but he ended up at the same destination. Marcus Semien kind of struggled with the Oakland Athletics for the last half of the 2010s. He signs a 1-year prove-it deal with Toronto and explodes in that lineup, right? He plays all 162 games, and he quietly hits 45 home runs, 45 bombs, and 102 RBIs, which I didn't know before researching for this video that Marcus Semien even did that. That's how under the radar he was for Toronto. I mean, I knew he was good. I knew he was an all-star, a Gold Glove, and a Silver Slugger. He got all 3 of those accolades last year. But 45 bombs, now you get that big bopper at second base for the Rangers. They're set at the middle of the infield.
Oh, for sure. And I remember these signings happened
it was like back to back. It was like,
so yeah, in a span of 48 hours, suddenly the Rangers have one of the best infields in the league. And yeah,
middle infields in the league. Middle
right.
infields.
Yeah. I think
because we don't know about the corners per se.
Yeah. But anyways,
it's still the Rangers, and they're still
still
incredibly mediocre, but they're trying to build something down there.
And I think they're making the right strides to becoming a better baseball team. And I think Marcus Semien, the reason we didn't know he hit 45 home runs is because he was on the same team as Vladimir Guerrero, who had even more. But anyways, now that he's with the Rangers got a great contact hitter in Corey Seager. Now they got a great power hitter in Marcus Semien, really bolstering their lineup and their middle infield. So the Texas Rangers, they definitely won this offseason pre-lockout. Really can't get much better than that.
Yeah, they are one of the winners of the lockout. I think you can put the Mets up there in the conversation just with the volume of quality players that they acquired, but the Rangers, you're definitely up there. Now we got one more guy we're going to cover, and this is by far the most controversial and the hottest take that I have, because Javier Báez signs with the Detroit Tigers, 6-year, $140 million. All right. He spent last year with the Cubs and the Mets. With the Cubs, he was not very good. He hit .248. He struggled at the plate with strikeouts. He didn't walk at all. He's a power bat. He was hitting home runs. And then he got flipped to the Mets, where he had that debacle with Francisco Lindor and the fans. And that was kind of classless on his part. And he improved at the plate as far as contact and batting average goes. but I still don't think he was worth the money. You're paying him $23 million a year for the guy that led the league in strikeouts as a shortstop. And strikeouts have been a problem for his whole career. I mean, he struck out 33% of the time last year and walked only 5% of the time. I don't care how good you hit. If you're a shortstop, you can be replaced. He hit 31 home runs, fine. But I would be so stupid if I was a GM to give him anything over $10 million a year. I think Javier Báez is the most overrated player in the MLB. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I think Báez absolutely escaped with a bag.
Yeah, he definitely did. I'm also in the he's overrated category. I think he's good still, but not that level of good.
Yeah, no, let's just make this clear. Let me just make one thing clear. I think Javier Báez is good for a franchise in terms of getting butts in seats, and he plays aesthetically pleasing baseball. He has a good glove, and he runs the bases hard, and he's flashy. But what he brings to the plate is not what I'm looking for in my superstar shortstop. Even though there were other alternatives out there for Detroit, I just think you could have given him less money. That's all. Right. A lot less money.
And also, this is just a hot take from me being a New York fan. He signed with the Midwest team, so he wouldn't have to deal with fans booing him. Sorry, Javi Báez. If you're not doing good, the fans are going to boo you.
That's just the New York market. Yankees or Mets, it doesn't matter where you go.
I don't care. You got to play up to your level.
Well,
call me a bad fan if you want, but that's just me.
Well, he definitely got the contract. Now let's see if he can go prove it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the Tigers, I do think they're nearing the end of their rebuild. I think they're going to be a good baseball team.
Whatever their rebuild means, because it's been directionless for the past 5 years.
But yeah, I mean, this could help. But yeah, I think it's a bit of an overpayment, and they could have saved up a bit more money to get some more quality players.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got for our first episode of the out-of-state rivalry, right? You got the Red Sox and the Yankees, and we will be covering the MLB all season, especially when that gets back. We're missing baseball. We cannot wait for it to come back. Manfred needs to get his crap together, and they need to come to an agreement so we can have baseball on time. We can have a full season because, quite frankly, that's what we're craving in the near future. But that's all we got. Like and subscribe for more Running the Table content. And until next time, we out. What are you trying to do there?
I was trying to show my Derek Jeter poster. Didn't really work out.
Oh.